What titles don't we give to St. George the Great Martyr? He's called the greatest among the great martyrs, chief of the ranks of martyrs, renowned for miracles everywhere, swift to help, and with good reason. To this day, across the Christian world, his miracles continue, powerful, personal, and often unbelievable, until they happen to you. Let me take you through some real stories of St. George's miracles in our times, stories that happened in monasteries, in forests, in prisons, and even mid-air. Story 1. The Novice of Mount Athos. Mount Athos, the Garden of the Theotokos, a sacred place. And there, St. George is known as its guardian. At a remote Kelia under Pantokrator Monastery, 2 elderly monks lived alone. It was quiet, peaceful, until one night, knock, knock, knock. "Who's there?" one of the monks called out. "Pilgrims," came the reply, "seeking shelter for the night." A young novice opened the door and let them in. 3 men stepped inside. The novice quietly left them in the guest room and disappeared. Hours passed. Silence. The men tried to move but couldn't. Invisible chains had bound them where they sat. Terrified, they screamed. The monks rushed in. "Who are you? How did you get in?" "Your novice let us in." "But we have no novice." The truth unraveled. These were bandits planning to rob and murder the monks. But their plan was stopped by that novice. The monks brought out an icon of St. George, and the thieves froze. "That's him," they cried. "He's the one who opened the door." Yes, St. George had appeared in the form of a novice to stop a terrible crime. The cell became known as Kelia of St. George the Appeared. And the ringleader? He repented, became a monk, and died a saintly death on Mount Athos. Story 2. Protector of the Forest. In the forests of Akan, western Armenia, stood a sacred grove, belonging to St. George's Church. Locals knew, "Don't touch those trees." They were his. One day, a Turkish man entered the grove and chopped down a living tree. But as he walked away, a rider in scarlet cloak appeared on a grey horse, sword drawn. "Touch another living tree," he warned, "and I'll strike you down." That night, the terrified man told everyone what he saw. Not all believed him, until a woman went in and tried the same. She chopped a tree, reached to move it, frozen, paralyzed. Before her stood the horseman, St. George again. She remained trapped until her son found her. Only after she vowed never to return did the invisible bonds release her. Even the trees St. George protects. Story 3. The Mysterious Horseman. Young Athanasius Carslidis was orphaned and alone, traveling through snowy mountains, cold, hungry, desperate. He cried out to God. Then, hoofbeats. A mysterious horseman appeared, lifted the boy up, gave him direction, brought him safely to Tiflis, far beyond where his little legs could carry him. That boy would grow up to become St. George Carslidis the Confessor, and he would later take the name George in honor of the warrior saint who saved him. Story 4. The Late Liturgy. In Beit Sahur, Syria, Khalil Abu Farha entered the cave church early in the morning and froze. A liturgy was already happening, but not one of this world. Angels served, and at the altar the Mother of God herself. Suddenly, galloping hooves. A young warrior burst in. "Why are you late, St. George?" asked the Theotokos. "I was at sea," he said. "A ship was sinking. I had to save them." His cloak was soaked. Droplets splashed onto Khalil's face. At the end of the liturgy, Khalil received antidoron from the hands of the Virgin Mary, and then they were gone. Later, he was still wet from the saint's cloak, still holding that precious bread in awe. Story 5. Delivered from death, 1941. Greece under Nazi occupation. Young Charalambos Galanopoulos was thrown into a Bulgarian prison camp and sentenced to die. In despair, he cried out, "St. George, save us, and I'll give my whole life to God." Suddenly, hoofbeats in the air. A rider galloped above the prison, but Charalambos could only see the horse, not the rider. Still, he knew it was him. The next morning, just before the execution, a powerful man burst into the prison. "Stop! Release these men now, or face punishment." The guards fled. The stranger vanished. Charalambos survived. 9 years later, he kept his vow, becoming a monk on Mount Athos. Story 6. The Church Reopens. In Soviet Samarkand, St. George's Church was closed by the KGB, but Archimandrite Seraphim kept serving in secret. One day, 2 horsemen rode into the courtyard. One entered his cell. "For Seraphim, prepare. The church reopens today." Then they rode to the city council. The officer stormed in. "Open St. George's Church today, or face consequences." Terrified, the chairman obeyed. That evening, May 6th, the feast of St. George, the church was open once again. When asked who that commanding bishop was, Father Seraphim showed a photo of his bishop. "No, not him," said the official. "The man who came was different, a warrior in command." Seraphim brought out an icon of St. George. "That's him," whispered the man, pale. "Him. He's the one." Miracle after miracle proves he's not just swift to help, he's already on the way. Like, share, and subscribe for more true stories of God's grace and the saints who walk among us.